So shift gears just a little bit. Fire or smoke damage.
Yeah.
How does that differ in the response of a restoration company or in my response as I'm not worried about the mold. So we take that out of the equation, but as the homeowner, how should I respond differently and what should I expect from the restoration company?
Yeah. So you're not dealing with mold unless the fire department came and sprayed the house down. That's significant fire at that point. So just like in water, fires have different degrees of severity, right? So, if you're looking at a house that's got and we walk into these all the time, unfortunately, that the fire's so significant that it burnt through the ceiling and the roof is missing. This is now a total loss inventory of contents and the structure is gutted to studs and that sort of thing. And so that I don't think we really want to talk that one because there's not a lot you can do at that point other than remove valuables and talk to the restoration company about getting specific items cleaned. But unfortunately, in those situations, that's such a devastating situation that quick response and getting on it with the restoration company is really important. But is there anything you're going to do in 2 to 4 hour period of time? Probably not, but the process should be started as quick as possible in that, just because you're going to get back together faster. And then you have a roadmap mentally to know where you're going. Cause in all of these situations, it's a significant event in your life, to have people come into your home, especially in a fire, and the fire department's in your home. And that's hard on people. It just is. So, so that's a factor that you can't leave out of all this. But going back to like a smaller fire, soot gets through everything. So you could have a kitchen fire where we call them protein because let's say that you're cooking a chicken on the stove or something like that, or beans or whatever it is, it gets forgotten and it burns down. There's probably no like physical scorching or like flames that have physically damaged anything, but now you have soot throughout the whole house. And so the short-term importance is having a restoration company out that can walk through and explain the do's and don'ts in that situation. And so one of those is touching the walls with your bare hands, because you have oils on your hands, and that actually impacts that soot and drives it into the wall and makes it harder to clean afterwards. So it's important not to touch anything really at that point. Walking on flooring. So if you have white carpet in your house and you have soot all over it and everybody's tracking and walking through it, that's just grinding that soot down into the fibers of that carpet. And making it less and less likely to be able to be restored. So it's better to not touch, step back, get somebody out. We'd love to come help in that scenario and walk the client through. Okay, this is where you're at. Create a scope of work. And that involves, we use specific sponges that are designed to pick up soot, all types of soot, because there is multiple types of soot. For example, you can have like a wood fire soot that actually isn't as black as you would think. It's got more of a white to it, or a grayish color when it comes off. And then you have protein, which is not quite as visible. And then, you can have a plastics, which is super dark black soot. And it also has the worst odor to it as well. Protein has a horrible odor as well, not quite as visible. And then wood smoke has a gray color. It almost looks like dust as well. So it takes somebody that knows what they're looking at to be able to see that for you. Because the downstream effect of not dealing with it properly is odor that continues and
that you never really get rid of.
You never get rid of it. Yeah. Because everything is involved in that scenario. So if you think about a kitchen fire, and let's say that you open up the windows to air everything out and you open up your master suite that's on the other side of the house, that smoke's going to transfer all the way through and be drawn through the master suite. So now you have, so that while it started in the kitchen is now all the way through, and is in all the surfaces.
Don't turn on the furnace.
Exactly. That's another one, right? And so, but yes, you do need to get the smoke out, and nobody thinks about that at the time. And if I had a fire in my house, I might think about it, but to be honest, more interested in getting the smoke out of the house
trying
first.
To clear the smoke out. And
yeah, for sure.
That's what spreads that soot all over.
It is. Yeah. So, But for short term, not touching anything is important. If it's a plastics fire, or there's fire extinguisher dust involved, those are corrosives. And so those can damage electronics. So there's a short term issue or metals as well. So we'll do an emergency, like stabilization clean as well, which deals with anything that might corrode or gets electronics out, gets them to an electronics restoration vendor very quickly. Another one is especially if you're not able to be in the house, is clothing. So we work with textile vendors that will come in and do emergency cleans on, a select number of clothing, get those turned around very quickly for the client, so that if they have to stay in a hotel, they can at least have a set of clean clothes, the next day or following days, so that they don't have to go rebuy their wardrobe right away. And then the rest of it can kind of come as it needs to. And every situation is different as well, of course. But, those are some of the emergency based services, and then board up as well. If the fire is bad enough, unfortunately there are some bad actors around that will rob fires. We had a fire in Mill Creek that was robbed like 5 times.
Wow.
And so we would show up every day, and somebody had been in there overnight. They literally ripped off the boards from the board up that the construction company did, and got into the house again and again and again and again. So, so there's that aspect of things as well to be thinking about.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like, oh, well, I would never do that, but there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah. So you and me both, but if that hits the news, that's a factor for sure.
Right.
So,
then all of a sudden people know that there's,
they may not be living there. Property that may be empty,
Oh.
maybe easier to get access to.
looking for valuables and
yeah.